Good morning and welcome to our August 2024 Research Administration Forum. I wanted to get started this morning by sharing some changes that are going to occur with our forum starting in 2025. We've decided to try something new. And so effective in January, we're going to start doing forums on a quarterly basis. So that would look like January, April, July, and October. And then the months that we don't have the forums, we're going to go ahead and send in like a newsletter with information and tips and tricks from our office out to the listserv. Of course, we'll still hold our monthly sponsored programs office hours, and we can be reached at any time through our general emails for proposals, awards, and subawards. So again, we're trying something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll consider other options. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that new format?
I just jumped on and I didn't hear the very first part of whatever change you're talking about. If you could just repeat that.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting in January of 2025, we're going to start doing our forums on a quarterly basis. So it would look like January, April, July, and October. And then those months that we don't hold the forums, we'll send newsletters out to the listserv with information from the sponsored programs office. Okay, well, if there are no questions or comments at this time, if you have them later, please feel free to reach out to me. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris Dye-Hixenbaugh to start talking about proposals.
Kelly, welcome everybody. Good morning on this beautiful August morning. So what we're going to do this morning is Alyssa and I are going to give you updates on what's going on with the proposal team. I'm going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see my screen? Excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. So this is let me move this. This is not helpful, is it? All right. This is the Research Administration Forum for August 2024. What we're going to go over, it helps if I can move my slide. There we go. Working with two screens here. Okay. So what we're going to go over this morning for the proposal side of the house is special individual agreement and informed participation. They're used unilaterally. The title may be different, but they're pretty much the same document with specific requirements. The OR budget template we will go over, as well as for those of you who don't know, the California Department of Food and Agriculture Specialty Crop Block Grant Program is coming up, and we are getting a lot of questions through the proposal box. So we just wanted to make sure to take an opportunity to make sure everybody knows what's going on with those proposals that are due on September 9th. So for the special individual agreements known as SIA and the informed participation agreements known as IPA, in the interest of creating efficiencies due to reduce administration, that we want to reduce administration burdens, and we decided effective immediately that for the proposal team will no longer require these special individual agreements or an informed participation agreement during the proposal phase. This will be our new process in most cases, unless there's a specific certification or special circumstance in which may warrant a special individual agreement due to requirements specific to the processing of that proposal prior to the submission. And should you have any questions about any special requirements, please feel free to reach out to the proposal team so that we can help review the guidelines and make sure to address your question prior to your submission, so you can be aware of that. Moving forward to the OR budget template information, we wanted to let everyone know that all of the budget templates have been updated based on last month's viewing of the updates that we made to the budget to make it easier and more user-friendly for you. So they're all available on our website. Please feel free to download them, as well as look at the guides that have been provided and updated as in processing and using those documents to process your budgets and prepare your budgets. If you have any problems reaching this website, as we've heard some information from some of the individuals from Med Center, if you have a problem reaching the site, please reach out to your IT team, because we think that it's a security wall that's preventing you from being able to download those documents. As we move forward to the California Department of Food and Agriculture, the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program has 2 phases as part of the proposal process. The first phase is the concept phase. That phase is due September 9th. These are the important things that you should know about the concept phase. All these concept proposals are required to be routed through Cayuse SP to SPO for our review. Please identify this proposal as an LOI preliminary proposal, as it's part of the first phase of a 2-tiered phase. When you're preparing that proposal, that preliminary proposal, you only need to list the lead principal investigator on the project. You do not need to route it to any of the other key personnel on the project. Please list any subrecipients that you may have, but there is no paperwork required at this phase of the concept proposal submission phase. In addition, there's no compliance documents that are required during this phase. When preparing the budget, the internal budget, it is required because a budget is required as part of the concept phase. So we want to make sure that you're utilizing the OR template A and use the custom features when identifying the specific limitations that have been set forth in the guidelines for the indirect cost. The indirect cost is set at 8% salary and fringe benefits. And so we want to make sure that you know how to operate that budget correctly to make sure that your calculations render correctly. So as you look at the budget, and you'll see a small little snippet here at the bottom, you want to select other under the type right here under line 305. And then you're going to unhide. So you'll need to select rows to unhide row 306 here for custom indirect cost base. Then when you do that, you'll select custom down here under the base type, and 8% will be entered. And then you can put your formula in there to identify the line in which the salary and fringe benefits have already been calculated for the total cost, or the total amount of this, just the salary and fringe benefits. I will turn this over to Alyssa, and she will give you a live demonstration of this as well. But at this time, I wanted to check and see if anybody had any questions, or if you just want to go straight through to Alyssa, and we can show you that demonstration. Perry, do you see any questions? I can't see the chat.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Did I miss the definition of an IPA, or when one is required? An example might be helpful.
Okay, so an IPA is an informed participation agreement. And what that is a document that is used to be prepared at time of proposal, which will be done at time of award now. That document could identify information that may be different from the standard policies and procedures of the university, such as, say, royalty sharing. We want to make sure that the investigator is aware when entering into an agreement with that sponsor that those terms and conditions may deviate from the standard university's policies. Is there any further questions? Okay, well then I'll stop sharing, and I'll hand it over to Alyssa for the live demonstration of the budget to adjust your custom budget.
All right, so if you download the new template, we actually have this ready for the specialty crop block already, so that you don't have to do a lot of work, because it's our most common use of the custom feature. So if you download the new template A, and then you go to highlight 306 to 307. So just click on the 305 and move your mouse down and you'll see that you've highlighted both these lines. Right click and unhide. And you get this custom base formula. And right now it's set up already. However, to enter a formula, all you would do is enter your equals and then scroll on up to your total personnel line, click on it, and then click enter. And then that sets it up for the base to equal the total of personnel. And then you would just slide this right over. You want to make sure this is changed to other right here. And then this is changed to custom. And that way, when you put in any kind of, let's put in some funds up here. 10,000, 12 months. Just pull that over. Put some benefits here. And then if we go down, you can see that even if I put in more costs here, our base is still equal to the personnel line. And this is calculating at 8% of that personnel line instead of capturing these other costs that would normally be part of our base. So that's handy when you're doing the specialty crop block. This can also work, of course, if you have any other custom bases. Like I've seen some foundations might say you can only charge on personnel and you know, materials and supplies. So then you could have this and you could put a plus sign here. And then you could go to your total of materials and supplies and you just click on that particular total and again hit enter. And then that would be personnel and supplies. And you can just drag that formula over just like that. So pretty straightforward to use that custom feature there. All right. Any questions? Oh. All right. I think that concludes our proposal presentation. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to proposals@ucdavis.edu. Chris and I are happy to answer all your questions.
Thank you, Chris and Lisa. That was great information. Now I'm going to ask B to share some information about awards and subawards.
Good morning, all. Happy Wednesday. I am here to talk a little bit about subawards and awards. I like that Chris and I did not prepare, or Chris, Lisa, and I did not prepare the slides at the same time, but we must have really been feeling this template this week, so we were all using the same template. I'd like to start with the recruitment update. I know you know that we have some positions here to fill on the awards side. So currently we are recruiting 3 permanent RA3 positions and also 3 contract RA3 positions. Both of those are posted and expected to end within the next week or 2. So we will be looking to move forward with that as soon as possible. We've also recently filled, we hired 2 external employees to be permanent senior RA3s to the awards team. And we internally promoted an employee to be a permanent senior RA3 as well. Those are on the award side. On the subaward side, we've also recently hired a subaward contract RA3 position. So we understand that we are a little short-staffed and we are working as fast as we can to get staffing back up to full so we can move quickly on all of the agreements. Secondly, I wanted to help provide a little bit of where the break is between finance and SPO. There are things that SPO can help with. For example, if you have a financial question related to the terms and conditions of the award, some examples are like if you need a rebudget. So you want to move some money, let's say out of participant supply costs and put them into the main part of your grant, or maybe you have wanted to buy a piece of equipment that wasn't previously budgeted. We can help you submit that to the sponsor and get the approval for that. You can also, if there's a question of, hey, is this expense allowed in this award? Can I charge food and drink to this award? Those are questions we can assist with. The things that SPO is unable to assist with are things like signing the financial reports or submitting the final financial reports. SPO doesn't have delegation for finance. We actually don't have access to Aggie Enterprise. So that also flows into the next point. We can't check things for you within Aggie Enterprise. Sometimes we get questions on what's my chart string, what's the invoice status, How much money do I have left on the grant? Those are not things that SPO can assist with. We are unable to see those things. So I wanted to provide a little bit of the context of what SPO can help with in terms of finance and what SPO is unable to assist with in terms of finance. Are there any questions on that? Okay, well, if not, that is all I had this week. I've provided, my email is brstrong@ucdavis.edu, and also you can reach me at awards or subawards@ucdavis.edu. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, B. Just to add on to what B was saying, in sponsored programs, we are seeing a lot of requests coming through for assistance with invoices and creating invoices and invoice status. So we just wanted to be very clear. It's not that we don't want to help. It's just that we don't have access to those systems. Sponsored programs and CGA are completely separate entities. And speaking of CGA, Mario, do you have any updates to share?
One moment, there's
Yeah.
a question in the chat. Who can we ask for allowability of expense?
You can ask SPO if an expense is allowable on the grant. We'll look at the terms and conditions or the uniform guidance and determine whether it meets those conditions or not. So yeah, if you have any questions on whether we can purchase something, just please let us know.
So along the lines of those items like the financial reports and questions on invoicing, you can send an inquiry to efa@ucdavis.edu. In general terms, if it's, obviously we're trying to route things through ticketing so that we can monitor those and have one line of items. But if it's an urgent issue, send it to that box and we'll respond as soon as we can. So leading into the updates for CGA, I have a few quick updates, and then Lenora Bruce is going to do a quick presentation on project setup and a KBA that she established to hopefully streamline some of the data that we're getting for project setup so that we can get those set up for you as soon as possible. So from a staffing perspective, we are currently in the interview phase for 2 research admin 3 positions. Those interviews will start in the next few weeks. So we hope to have those positions filled soon. We do have a research admin 2 backfill position that posted that has a closing date of September 9th. And then in addition to that, we are in the interview phase now for the director position to have the new director hired for CGA. I anticipate that probably not until the beginning of October, and we'll have a new director in place. A quick reminder for cost transfers that you've all been submitting tickets for since we went live in Aggie Enterprise for those costs that were prior to Jan 1. We are going to, the end date for submission for those requests is at the end of this calendar year. So at the end of December. So we ask that you get those tickets in for those transfers so we can staff that task appropriately. So we can get those taken care of, but we are going to not do those transfers after December 31st. And so I'm going to have Lenora give her presentation on project setup. So Lenora, take it away.
Thanks. So finally, we have a KBA up for requesting any additional sponsored projects. As most of you know, when you have a new award, we automatically set up the initial one. So if you need additional for co-PIs or other tracking that you need to do for those awards, then you must submit a ServiceNow ticket. Let me share the KBA. And I will put this in chat, so if you guys want to save it as a favorite in there. It's pretty basic like all the other KBAs. The main thing is we've added a form. One thing, make sure when you're submitting your ServiceNow that you're selecting contracts and grants accounting. and awards management, so it routes to the correct group. The form is downloadable on here. And this will help us to be able to speed up and get these projects created, knowing that we have all the pertinent information up front. Here's a sneak peek of the form. Again, you don't get to name your projects. We'll take care of that, but just be sure to include all the information that is necessary for the project creations. My presentation is quick. Oops. But if you have any, feel free to email me or EFA or even in your ticket if you come across or are confused about something. But this is all standard information that we need now. So hopefully everybody's familiar with it. That's all I got.
There are some questions in the chat.
Take a
Let's see.
look.
Will there be an update to the end date automatically when those transfers are approved? This refers to what Mario was talking about.
I'm not sure I understand that question. Joe, what are you talking about with the end date?
Hi, Mario. So end dates for some of these awards are closed. So will those end dates be automatically updated when they are approved by you guys?
We'll have to evaluate those end dates and the circumstances. So I assume that kind of to our presentation last month about around the dates. So if the close date of the award has passed and the project finish date has passed, we'll have to evaluate whether it's a correct treatment to extend those for the cost. But if the expenditure date of those transfers is prior to the period of performance end date, then we'll be okay. But we'll evaluate those as we're doing those cost transfers, because functionally, if a transaction date is outside of those ranges, it will not post. I don't know if that answers your question.
I have a question about requesting a new PPM project. So maybe this is kind of a dumb question, but normally when a new sponsored project comes through to CGA, aren't you guys setting that up in PPM already? So what would be the situation where we're having to request you guys to do that?
If you want additional projects.
Oh, I see. Okay. Like, for example, I think this was discussed in the KFS times, we had sub accounts. So like,
Yep.
Is that an example of where if we were wanting to track something
Separate, yeah.
separately? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
thanks.
so it's just if you want additional, not if it's a new award, you're gonna automatically get a project set up with that. But if you want additional, then this is the route to take.
Is that something people have been doing? I have a PI that is kind of stressed out, like, how do I track all these? You know, she has a lot of conference events that she's wanting to kind of track separately on a participant support portion of an award, and I remember that being discussed as an option. But is that kind of a recommended way to track things?
I'm assuming that other departments are probably doing the same thing, and yes, we've gotten a lot of requests for additional projects.
Good
Yeah.
to know. If we're setting those up kind of right after the fact, so then we would have to transfer. How would we deal with like moving things that are all on the original project? How would that get handled? We just have to.
Are you talking about transferring expenses?
Yeah.
You would, as long as they were enterprise expenses.
Just move them, just do a cost transfer to the new project.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So it looks like,
Yeah, so Ruby asked
go
about if
ahead.
there, for instance, I'm guessing like on NSF award where we need to set up a separate project for the participant. So that should be done at the time of award. If it's not, then let me know. If, and for instance, if we get a state award that doesn't, they award up front for the 3-year project and they don't allow carry forward, we would set up those multi-year accounts at the start of the award, so you don't have to worry about that either. But if you're wanting additional, like for co-PIs or to track something separate, then you would submit the request for additional projects.
Hey, Lenora, quick
Hi.
question.
Yep.
Is the notification still the same as it was in the past for new awards and then the now new projects? Or it used to be the new fund number? Are the account managers and the PI notified as well when that project is created?
No, so the notification is when you get that budget.
Oh, okay,
Because once you approve that budget, then it's active and you can start spending.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Maureen asked who should be submitting the request. We're going off whoever submits, so that's up to the department level. We're assuming that everybody's already worked it out, and that's why you're asking for a separate project. Again, if somebody else asked for it, we would be rebudgeting from the main project. So at that point, if it's incorrect, then hopefully somebody would speak up.
The timeline for the project setup.
Yeah, we're working through a
Yeah.
lot of requests. I'm hoping with this new form, we can actually speed this up a little bit, because there's been a lot of back and forth having to get budgets and etc. But we're working through them. Hopefully, once we get caught up, we can have a quicker turnaround time.
And that's
I'm
one
not-
of the, that's one of the reasons we've developed the KBA. We're trying to help minimize any back and forth that's needed for information. So we get more complete information up front when we're setting these projects up. It helps the process move quicker.
So yeah, your question
yeah.
is on advanced projects on existing awards or new advances?
Well, this is we submitted last week an advance account request for an incoming award. The PI is worried that the main institution is going to take a while to send the actual award to us. We got the NOA from NIH, but Penn State is the prime or the main institution. And so the faculty has, basically caused the change to start charging right away. And so I was just curious what the kind of expected timeline is for advance accounts, since they tend to be more time sensitive, or at least they're requested when there's a time sensitive component.
So you're saying that you've submitted the request to the sponsored programs and they've approved?
They approved it yesterday, last week.
Yeah, I right now have the 4 setting those up, and they're trying to get to those. So if you're still waiting on one, feel free to email me and I can look it up and see what's going on. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer because we need more information than what's on that form. So sometimes they might be reaching out to whoever the department contact is.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Maureen, your question, that is something that we are, continually thinking about and considering how do we, more effectively get information out. So your question on setting up the CGA forums. Right now, we're still determining what forums are needed along with the central unit of CGA, and then what campuses have been working with on reporting. So something that we are
So Nuj asked about the dates. So the project finish date is whatever the due date for the final of that award. Final due date for the financial or invoice. Lindsay's asking about department. For the most part, we're using whatever has come over. If you get your budget and it has the wrong organization, at that time, reject the budget and put what you want so it can be updated before the budget is approved. And I think in the PPM work group that we're on, they mentioned that the KBAs, there's one section that they updated. I'm not exactly sure on it, but I think they're working on that for the PPM module too. I think it was for supply chain or something. So there, I know that the group that handles the KBAs is working on that. So.
Lenora, can I follow up on my question?
Uh-huh.
Because we have several departments that all have contracts. Is that a pain for you guys though, to have to go in and for us to deny and have you guys redo? You know, we have like six
so
or
with you
seven
guys can
departments.
send me a list if that will help. And we can, I have a folder for my group. Since you work with pretty much one or two people, we can talk offline and
Okay.
work out
I
a
wish
plan
that
so
we could have a Cayuse update so we could choose the correct, you know, department for you guys at the time of submission.
Yeah.
That's something SPO could work through it, maybe a solution on, or if we need to set up new like separate departments for each of our PIs, because they all have different departments financially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how to reach me.
Hi, Lenora. This is Jen. I just want to make sure I understand about the end days. You just said the finish day. My understanding was before the finish day, even it's after the award end day, we can process transfers, right?
So the way the dates work, there's really 3 dates. There's the award end date, which is the end of the performance period. There's the award close date, and there's a project finish date. Currently, when we're setting these up, we're looking at the close period of an award. So for example, if it has a 90-day reporting close, we are setting the award close date and the project finish date 90 days after the award end date, allowing for those 90 days to post that activity. After those 90 days, costs will no longer post to the PPM projects.
Okay.
So if that, yeah, and that's an example of a 90-day close. 120-day, same logic, but it'll be a 120-day close period.
Okay, that answers my question. So within the 90-day, between the award end day and the close and finish day, we can adjust the expense.
Correct. Activity will post. If we understand that there are situations that, you know, the way the award works, that close period is, we'll need to evaluate that, but we're trying to address the 90% of the awards that operate under that function. And that's really, we're trying to leverage the design of Oracle, which is designed to have an actual close period so that costs will not post. So we're going to maintain the integrity of that part of the way dates work. But
And I wouldn't think you have up to 90 days because that 90 days we have to be able to draw or do the invoice. So if you're posting up to that 90-day, you're at risk of us not being able to meet the sponsor's deadline.
Right. Actually, we always try to get everything done as soon as possible. For us, we normally within a few weeks, then we get them all done.
I just wanted to add that because just because the finish date is out the 90 days or whatever doesn't mean you really have up till that day.
Yeah.
because that means that our team would not have time.
And I'm in the
to-
process right now of developing a
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I asked because we had a problem with the UC Pass, even though the day just right after the award end day, a way before the award finish day, then UC Pass gave us the error message saying it's after the award end day. I'm not sure that was totally UC Pass problem or something else. I hope if that's a UC Pass problem, it has been fixed. Because previously, I think, yeah, last couple months, we had quite some issue to trying to process like salary cost transfer.
Yeah,
We
so
get
that's
UC Pass, right, the error message.
yeah, that's a different issue that was also resolved last month or yeah, July.
Okay.
I'm losing track of months. That was an I-370 validation that was erring. You were getting an expiration error in trying to post a salary cost transfer. And that's because the I-370 validation was looking at Aggie Enterprise and reading the expiration date as it was not recognizing that. So you were getting an expiration status error, but that has been resolved. So if you still see that issue, please open a ticket because we need to evaluate whether there's other gaps that were not identified in those resolutions. But as far as our date functionality, we're good to go from this point. So we want to know if there's other items out there that are not operating the way they're intended.
Quick question.
Yeah, thank you.
That end date, that's across the board for awards that migrated as well?
That's correct. So we had a larger fix at the end of June where we went back and fixed the dates that had migrated with a more restrictive close period. So I think that was a lot of the headaches that you were seeing out in the departments was some of these had like a 30-day close period. So it wasn't allowing time for transactions to post or cost to post in PPM. And that was the challenge.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Lenora's point is very important because and so I would refer people to last month's research forum as well. I think they're recorded. Perry records those and archives them. The presentation last month was really to kind of try to explain the dates. I know it wasn't probably, one presentation isn't going to answer everybody's questions, but the foundational information is on that presentation as far as how the dates work, what was done to correct the prior issues, and what to expect going forward. But the point that Lenora made of that award period being kind of a shared time, that close period, that CGA still has to get out the final reporting, and we have to be able to have time to do final cash draws as well. And agencies and draw systems are getting more and more restrictive of removing funds right after that, either like 90-day or 120-day period. And then we have to go back to this agency to request funds be reopened if we go past that timeline. So thanks, Perry, for putting the
Yeah, there was a question about the end date. So it's not across the board 90, it's determined on the terms and conditions of the award, which is what Deborah put in there.
Yeah, I was just using 90 as an example, but we're not going to strict 90 for everything. We're looking at and all right. Well, thanks everyone for your questions.
Thanks, Mario and Lenora. That was great information as well. Perry, would you like to share any updates about SPO training?
Yes, I just tried adding some info to the chat, but it was too long. So here's part of it. And then I'll add a second part. Ah, that's still too long. These chats, I didn't know they had limits. Okay, just give me a second here. We have 3 upcoming classes in September. 2 of them are now listed in the chat, and the 3rd is coming now. There we go. So I put a link in the chat to our upcoming trainings webpage. That's where you can find all of our e-courses, all of our upcoming instructor-led trainings, and find the registration links to those so you can sign up for them. So next week, we are offering a class that started off as a workshop. It was very well received, so it's now in our regular rotation of classes we offer periodically throughout the year. It's on Cayuse 424, and it will go step by step through preparing a proposal for submission in Cayuse 424, and then give you an opportunity to practice what you've learned. It also covers the professional profiles, which are in Cayuse 424. So later in the month, on September 12th, we have a proposals lab, and that's a hands-on class to practice what you've learned so you don't lose it. And the content that covers is from the electronic research administration class, as well as the proposal preparation and submission class. Those were offered recently, so they are also available as e-courses anytime. So if you're interested, you can take those e-courses and then practice with us at the Proposals Lab. And lastly, on September 26th, we are offering our 2nd class on the awards process. This is specifically on using Cayuse SP to process awards and post-award actions. And so you can sign up for any of those. And as always, on the first Thursday of each month, we have office hours where you can join us at 10 o'clock. And the information for that is on that same page that I put in the chat. So that's it. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out.
So that concludes the scheduled portion of our forum. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss before we end the meeting?
I do. This is Pam. I just want some clarification on the award end date in PPM. I want to understand the difference between the award end date in Cayuse and the award end date in PPM.
So the award end date would match what is in Cayuse, but if you're asking about the closeout or the project finish date, then that would be when the finals are due to the sponsor.
Okay.
If there's annual projects, then those dates are going to be different from the others to be in line with when those annuals are due. But the award dates should match the award agreement dates, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ascertain. For a minute there, I thought that in PPM, the award end date, you automatically added, whatever the closeout period is, 90 days, 100, whatever. That
Nope, the award dates should match.
Change the award end date.
Nope. And we will not change the award end dates without an amendment.
What's the header name to differentiate between the one that has closeout and the one that's the award?
So if you're looking in the award screen under the financial tab where it shows the award dates or the budget period, there's a closeout date. So that closeout date allows for expenses to be able to post after that award date.
Okay.
And then that would be in alignment for the most part. There are always exceptions, right? If there's annual or whatever,
right,
would be in line with the project finish date.
Okay. Thanks.
Yet I believe the project dates is what is recognized in UC Path.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss or any other questions? Okay, if not, I hope everybody has a great day and we'll see you next month.